Well, hi, dreamer. Welcome to Please Tell Me Your Dream. Thank you again for offering a dream today, and I really look forward to hearing it. Do you mind giving us a couple of facts about you that we might need to know that would help us understand the dream?
Well, let's see. You mean about me personally?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Let's see. We talked about this for a minute. I am retired,
Mm-hmm.
single,
Mm-hmm.
um, and what I'm doing now is I read a lot. I take a lot of photographs, write a little bit, look after my cats, keep the house going. That's kind of what I do. It's a
Right.
full life. And
And
this
so,
dream, this dream is pretty old. It's from June 2008. So
excellent.
it's possible that you have heard it before. I can't remember what year you started working with us. Do you remember?
Before that,
Okay. So you might remember some of this dream.
I might remember some of this dream. Um, and I want to take this opportunity to say that working with an old dream is often very fruitful because when we work with a fresh dream, we have an understanding of it at a certain level based on where we are and what's going on in our lives. When we let some time go by and work on that dream again later on, we can we can look back on it from a different perspective, and it sometimes yields new information. And so there's a lot to be gained in looking at dreams that we have had before. I like to think about dreams as being in Kairos time or eternal time, not in Chronos time or linear time. And that way, they just continue to tell us things that we need to know about ourselves. So 2008, 1998, it still can yield really good information. So I'm delighted that you're bringing this one forward.
Well,
And
I
so,
was going through files, you know how you have to go through your files now and then, clean them out and all that. And I had so many dreams from the past. And I was going, and there were some interesting ones I read, but this one just jumped out at me because the first line was very funny to me. And when you're ready, I'll tell you. Well, the first line is, "I ran a mental hospital," which just cracked me up, first line. So, and then I thought it was a very interesting short dream. So that's why I thought it might be a good one to work today.
excellent. Excellent. Okay, go ahead and tell us the dream.
Okay. And this dream concerns thoughts about my ex-husband and my then current boyfriend. And I'll just refer to them as ex and boyfriend. Okay, I ran a mental hospital, but I did yoga with my ex and boyfriend mornings in a class. While I was gone or asleep, they agreed to practice yoga. And I have parentheses, I'm in the house late at night, maybe, can hear them talking as they play their instruments. I hope they are actually getting to know each other, being alone together that way. It was heartwarming for me. So that's it.
Dreamer, let's hear it again.
Okay.
Let's hear it again.
I ran a mental hospital, but I did yoga with my ex and boyfriend mornings in a class. While I was gone or asleep, they agreed to practice yoga. Parentheses, I'm in the house late at night and maybe can hear them talking as they play their instruments. I hope they are actually getting to know each other, being alone together that way. It is heartwarming to me.
What is the predominant feeling around that? You
Well,
mentioned heartwarming.
I thought it was a dream about healing. about healing,
Mhm.
consciously and unconsciously. And, you know, the mental hospital thing, it is funny that I was running a mental hospital, but I think that is the more or less conscious part of it. Also unconscious, you know, a mental hospital is conscious and unconscious. But definitely the yoga is an unconscious, it's the body thing. It's not talking, or it's more of an unconscious healing, I would think. Do you agree?
I'm gonna let you make these associations, and then I'll weigh in a little bit.
Okay.
S-
Okay.
Say more about mental hospital.
Well, I was thinking about that. I don't know if it was if in the dream I was thinking, you know, actual mental hospital, but you know how dreams are, and it could have been just my head was the mental hospital, you know, or maybe the dream is the mental hospital, you know.
Uh-huh.
Uh, it could kind of go in several different directions, but um, and also I'm kind of setting myself up as you know, uh, pretty knowledgeable, and if I'm running the mental hospital, and I'm not, so that's why I was thinking maybe the mental hospital was a metaphor for um, other things like, yeah, the dream, or just my healing.
A couple of things spring to mind that I'll
Right.
just say. And as usual, you get the last word. It's your dream, and you can say that fits or that doesn't fit. And I'm thinking also about just to build on what you've already said, is that the concept of the hospital is in fact a place of healing
Right.
and to heal mentally. And so the dream indeed may be addressing that, as you indicated. I'm thinking about this also being running the hospital has to do with ego.
Yes.
That has to do with you know, ego, that kind of aspect of our psyche that's thinks it's in charge of everything, but it's really only in charge of our daily lives and running our kind of waking life, so to speak. That that feels like that a little bit, but I think it is a place in psyche. So I'll just make that note.
Yes, that's good. Place in psyche.
Um, and um, and that, uh, but it feels like in this to me that ego is indeed cooperating with this process. It feels like that. I'm real interested in the contrast um, between mental hospital and a yoga class. Can you say more about yoga?
Well, I've done yoga. I'm not doing it right now too much, but I've done yoga a lot, and I do think it's healing. It's a kind of a form of meditation, uh, and um, in that way, it is very healing. Um, but I think it's, yeah, it is not at all like mental therapy. It just comes from a different direction. Different and you mentioned that word process. Yoga is a process, the mental hospital is a process, but yoga is big time process, and it's a practice, as they say, a practice. So you know, I like that word practice because it means, you know, something you do every day, but also it's something you're not mastering it, you're practicing it at it, you're doing the best you can at it, you know.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah, I like that too. A minute ago, did you also mention, do I remember this is yoga is body practice
Right.
and
Yeah,
that,
as opposed to, yeah,
and so this interesting, um, combination of head healing, body healing, mental, physical, and perhaps even spiritual. We can think about that in a little bit.
and I think when you're in a yoga class, you do have, even though you don't talk, just
Mhm.
doing the practice with others is, it's a connection, and I think it's a healing connection.
Yeah, I like that. Um, I like that, especially the fact that you're doing it with these men,
Right.
these men that had been or are part of your life, and together, that's together.
Yeah,
So,
and I'm hoping that they will be healing,
mhm,
not just me, but that they will heal
mhm.
also.
So let's turn to them, if that's
Okay.
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 So we have an ex-husband.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's just start with him. So
Okay.
can you tell us some attributes of his, and if it's okay with you, Dreamer, I'm going to do it this way. Some
Okay.
attributes that you think of him, positive attributes, negative attributes, and most importantly, the thing that captured you when you first met. What was the thing you fell in love with? That's a very important element.
Rebel. He was,
Ah,
he was a
okay.
rebel.
Okay. So that's it. Tell us some of his other positive attributes.
Okay. He was a writer. He was very smart. Um, very creative, of course, as a writer. We had lots of similar interests,
Like,
like reading and travel and friends. We had some friends in common, close friends in common, who were also rebels.
mhm,
This is the 60s, this is the 60s when I met him, 60s. Married for 23 years. But at this point, when I had the dream, I had been divorced 18 years. Is that right? No, yeah, 18 years
at the time of the dream.
at the time of the dream.
Uh-huh. Okay. Now,
Negatives,
yeah.
controlling. And that was the main problem
Okay.
that we had. And we didn't have enough, I don't know, we stopped having fun. We just weren't having fun. Fun is important.
All right. Now, this is what I'd really like to dive into, and that is tell me some things. What does rebel mean?
Well, he was a rebel many ways. He and I actually shared a point when we were went to the same church, and when we were sitting in the part of the youth group together, and the preacher said, "Okay, all of the young people here who want to be work in Africa as missionaries and pledge to do that, come up to the altar right now." And all of my friends were getting up and going, and I just thought, I don't want to be a missionary in Africa. And I didn't go, and he was the only other one that didn't go also. He didn't want to go either. So that was kind of funny. He also uh went to Georgia Tech and didn't like it a bit and did something to get thrown out and ended up going to another college where he could study writing instead of learning to be a NASA person, which his dad wanted him to be. So he rebelled against his parents' wishes and did his own thing.
And did his own thing. And that was so attractive.
Yeah.
Okay. That is an archetype.
Oh, really? Okay.
The rebel is an archetype. Now, what do I mean by an archetype for people who are watching this and don't know that word? An archetype is a particular pattern of human behavior that is sort of implanted in each of us. You know, we inherit these patterns of human behavior the way animals inherit instincts. And we often see these patterns of human behavior in cultural retelling of stories. And so rebel, you know, is when you say rebel, and when we're talking about rebel, we kind of know what that means. It's the rebel. It's doing my own thing without regard to what cultural, parental expectations, religious expectations are. The rebel.
And that's
That
strong
is,
animus too, isn't it? Strong animus doing
yes,
the
let's
thing.
talk about the animus. So this is an archetype. And we can look through literature over the centuries. We can look at literature and television, movies, plays, novels over the years currently, and we can find this character, the
Rebel
rebel.
without a cause. Yeah.
We can find him.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
The masculine aspect within a woman's personality is traditionally called in Jungian psychology is called animus. And let me say that again for folks. The masculine aspect within a woman's personality. And what do I mean by masculine aspect? Simply said, the ability within us, which is necessary for both men and women, but the other within us that allows us, if we can be in touch with it, if we can have a relationship with it, that this allows us to get things done in the world. It allows us to put something concrete on our creative urges. It allows us to think logically and rationally. It allows us to make good decisions, use good judgment. It allows us to make a plan to achieve something and then execute that plan, the energy to execute that plan. Also, it is necessary for boundaries. The masculine aspect within a woman's personality is necessary. Some development of that is necessary for maintaining good boundaries in our relationships.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. And so you know, it's on any given day, we can have too much of this or too little of it. And it often gets projected on the men that we fall in love with. And that's why I asked, what made you fall in love with this guy?
Yeah. Well, I was a rebel too. So that was part of the,
And so that got projected on him. You saw it in him. And that is often the recipe for falling in love with somebody.
also when you're very young, I was like 18, I think, when I got married, 18, 19, just turned 19. So I'm still highly in the projecting,
Mhm.
probably.
Yes, we see that thing that's in us, that part of rebel that's in us, we see it in them and we fall in love with it, fall in love with them. And so this dream is so important so we can identify this. We can identify this because in just a second, we're going to talk about boyfriend, who's another animus figure. And the idea of these two energies coming together in a way that's helpful to you in the action of the dream, right?
Right.
That's what I'm hearing in the action of the dream. So hang on to this guy, but let's look for a second at what he represents. This rebel aspect, but he also represents some really interesting stuff up here. He's a writer. You mentioned earlier that you do some writing. He's real smart. Smart is sexy, especially if we ourselves are smart. So, creative. You find that creativity within you. Then you have to look though at the other side and we have to ask ourselves, what part of me is this? When am I controlling? And when did I stop having fun? Or what stops me from having fun? So just hang on to all of that because this is at some level a reflection back, to you about you. So,
Okay.
okay. So let's go to boyfriend and we reserve the right to come back to ex-husband, but let's go to boyfriend. All right, here he is. Okay. So what was the big thing that you fell in love with this man?
Okay. Not controlling.
Okay.
Not stressful.
Okay. Well, sorry, that should have gone on this side. Because that's a positive, that he's not stressful. Or is it?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I did that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll hold that in mind for a moment.
Okay.
Okay. What
And-
are the other
And the
positives?
plus, he was also smart in a very different way from my husband. Smart,
Okay.
knowledgeable about all kinds of things that I don't know about. Um, and he loved my cats a lot, which is a big plus. Not everybody loves cats.
Okay.
Okay, the negatives, we had some differences. We had some, he was a church goer. I am not. He had some ideas about some social ideas that I did not agree with. So there was some, as you know, over the years, I was realizing these things and they became kind of a problem.
Okay.
But mostly he was just easy as compared to my ex, who had been very stressful
Okay.
to me.
So I'm going to do this. But I'm not gonna cross it out altogether because that was an interesting
Yeah, it is
thing
interesting.
that happened there. We'll have to think about that more.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
So that animus part is maybe just what I needed at that point in my life. That animus, maybe to let myself bloom
Mhm.
and, take away the controls.
Yeah. So here's an idea that sprang to my mind, and that is, when we think about the animus or the masculine principle within a woman's personality, as I mentioned before, we can, it on any given hour, it can go from too much to too little, where we become controlling, domineering, bossy, bitchy. All of that is a evidence of being animus, animus being too much. On the other hand, if we don't have enough animus energy, we can, in my mother's words, become a doormat. We don't stand up for ourselves. We don't hold boundaries. We don't get anything done. We and so it's interesting moving from the controlling aspect to the less controlling aspect. But let's try and turn it around to what's going on inside of you along those lines. Did you become less controlling? Did you become more relaxed, more easy? Did you?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And that
Okay.
is interesting because that is kind of the influence of the animus, right?
Yeah. The idea again is that the animus is in service to us, not to dominate us. It allows us to get stuff done in the world, but it doesn't compel us to drive.
Right.
Okay. So I think moving back to the yoga class, where ego and both of these aspects are coming together for a practice and a process. That's pretty cool, I think. Dreamer. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so let's do this. I'll tell you what, let's do this. All right. So we've got, just to put something visual on this, we've got ex-husband, we've got boyfriend with all of his attributes, and we've got the I or the me. And these two, if you will, are, balancing one another. They are not all the way opposites, but they're different enough. And so to have that come together in a way where you've got access to this and his attributes, access to this and his attributes when you need them. And so, and this is all going on in the yoga class, right? Which is not, again, it's embodied. The yoga class is embodied. It's, and there's a lot of breathing, there's a lot of breath in that, as opposed to the mental.
And there's also in the yoga class, I mean, you're on your own, but you're with others. There's kind of a nice,
I agree. That's great.
And that word about the boyfriend, a word just occurred to me that what I got with the boyfriend was a sense of freedom.
That's important. Yeah. Yeah. So the moving toward the boyfriend away from the ex-husband within you, is moving to a feeling of more freedom in your own life. That is excellent. That is wonderful. Now, the next part of the dream, as I recall, when you were telling the dream, there was a parenthesis.
Yes. I am in the house late at night, maybe in bed, can hear them talking as they play their instruments. So I'm in the house with them, apparently, and they are in my house, and they are playing instruments together and talking.
Can you tell what instruments they're playing?
No, I'm just assuming like a guitar is one,
Uh-huh.
or maybe two guitars. I don't know. I don't know, but they're but instruments for whatever that symbolizes. But it's music. They're making music together.
So here's the I, and we're going to say ego, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this is at night, right?
Mm-hmm. I
A-
guess. Yeah.
And so I'm going
Yeah.
to
Late at night. Late at night. Mm-hmm.
late at night. And so I'm going to sort of represent that, if it's okay with you, with this.
Okay.
This being consciousness, and this being just under the level of consciousness.
Okay.
And so here they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here they are. And they're playing. And it's music.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what are you thinking about this? Do you have any ideas about this? This is going on like almost out of sight, you know?
Well, that it's my happening. I mean, that it's a feature in my unconscious that is some maybe holding the tension of the opposites. I don't know. But it's not just them out there, it's in within me, I'm thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this represents such a positive moment in the psyche. If I can
Yeah, that's
offer
what I'm
this,
hoping. Yeah, go ahead.
that music suggests to me, this is me projecting on your dream, a kind of harmony.
Yes, that's good. Yeah, that's
And
right.
so for this aspect of animus and this aspect of animus to kind of come together, get to know one another, play together. You indicated earlier in our conversation, you felt like play was so important. Here they are.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, it doesn't require your participation.
Right. Right.
They're doing this in the psyche all by themselves. I mean, not all by, but
Well,
they're
that's the
doing
miracle of dreams, huh? Maybe.
miracle of dreams. They're
Yeah.
at work, they're doing their thing, whether you're
Yeah.
going to participate with them or not. They are coming together. They are talking. They are playing. There's a harmony suggested around this, and that is the bomb. That is so good.
So
I
we're thinking
think.
also that these aspects of them and me are becoming more in harmony.
Yes,
Those
exactly.
aspects. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
Isn't it? Isn't that cool?
I don't
Okay.
think we got this far with it at all when we did it before. I don't remember. I mean, we've taken this much further. Yeah.
So the very end, the word you used was how you felt was what?
Heartwarming.
Heartwarming. And man, that's kind of what we're looking for, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, heartwarming. That's
Yeah.
so fabulous. Dreamer, that is quite the dream. Now, let me ask you this. In our talking about this dream now, what, 16 years later, 2008, you said?
Mm-hmm.
In talking about this dream, does it evoke any feeling in you now?
It does, and, I was delightfully surprised that I had that dream because I didn't remember it, and, of
Mhm,
course, my conscious brain doesn't remember all that, but I'm delighted that my unconscious did it, and since I've been reading these books about the animus in women, uh, I'm on volume 2 of this book, set about, the animus in women,
mhm.
and so this is important to me that my unconscious, subconscious is can deal with the animus in these ways.
Indeed. Tell us the name of the book.
Oh, let me see. I'll have to leave to go get it. It's over here. Can I leave and come back?
Sure.
Okay.
So animus work for women is terribly important, especially to get us in balance with that inner drive that is often represented by the men in our dreams, the animus drive.
Well,
Okay.
okay, this is I'll hold it up. It's called The Spirit of Inner Truth in Women, The Animus by Barbara Hanna.
Ah, excellent.
And it's very dense and very intense, and it's a slow read.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's good. It's good. I was looking around for a good book on the animus in women, and it was hard to find one. But this popped up, and I had to get it on an interlibrary loan from the Mississippi Library Commission, and they got it for me, and now I'm in volume 2. So, The Spirit of Inner Truth in Women. I think that's a pretty amazing title, Inner Truth. That's what she's calling the animus, inner truth.
I am very excited about that. Um, okay. Now, one last thing that we do when we've gotten somewhere. Do you feel like we got somewhere?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. One last thing we do with our dream is talk about how specifically you might honor the dream and the work we did with the dream today. Would there be a ritual or a creative act or something that you could do to honor this work in the next day, 2, 3? So this is such an important thing to do to give the dreams their due. In other words, the dreams they're important aspects of ourselves, yes, but not to be reduced to just that.
Hmm.
They represent something really big. If you are a religious person, they can represent the voice of God. Even if you are not a religious person, they do point to something bigger than the ego, at least. And to honor the message keeps us in right relationship with that bigger thing. And so I just really encourage anyone who's done some good dream work to do something to honor the dream. Do you have any idea about that or an idea what you might do?
Well, one thing I could do is I haven't done any yoga in a while. I could do some yoga and think about the dream while I do the yoga. Um, I can continue reading this book about the animus in women. Um, hmm, I might paint something about it. Paint. I like to just paint, just sit down and paint whatever comes up in response to the dream.
Excellent. Excellent. Those are great responses to this dream. They are physical and concrete, and they pertain to
Good.
what the dream is talking about. So those are great ways to honor the dream. Excellent.
Well,
How
and this session honors the dream big time. So, you know, too.
Yeah, it does. Anytime you can work uh, with a dream with someone, or even by yourself, even sitting down and doing kind of what we did in this format where we talked about every element in the dream, that is honoring the dream. It's taking the dream seriously. It's giving the dream its due. So
And could you send me pictures of those pages?
I can send you the actual pages. How about if I put them in an envelope and just
Okay,
send them
great.
to you?
All right, great.
I'm
Thank
happy to
you.
do that.
Thank you.
And how was the process? How was the process for you, Dreamer?
Thought it was excellent. I think this is a good format. I mean, it was fun having it in a group, but man, this is really a little more intense, you know, because it's just, you know, one-on-one, and you know a lot about the Jungian stuff. So yeah, it was great.
I'm so glad that you enjoyed it, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart
Sure.
um,
We'll do it again. We'll do it
for
again, I
doing
hope.
this process.
Maybe.
And so in the future, if you would like, we can do it again.
Okay.
So, okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Signing off.
Yes.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.